with me, and he talked with me. And he said, I am his own. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. Thank you, Abba Father. Thank the Holy Spirit for giving us bread tonight. It's my first time coming on Facebook Live to talk about God, or to talk about things that I've been posting on my WhatsApp status, or even that I've been trying to write into a book. And I think it's time now to come online as people want to place a face. They want to place a face to the book, or place a face to the word. So that is why I'm on Facebook. I actually didn't want to, but it is now necessary to. Thank you, Mohini. You're welcome to a live broadcast. Thank you for joining. So what I want to talk about is about the alphabet. So the alphabet, like I've written down, as we know, it is the basis for every speech we make, even from childhood or from our beginnings. That was the first thing that we were taught in school, how to say the alphabet, and that's from what we can learn our words and then our speech after. So I was looking into the Bible to see how the alphabet is related to creation, but I couldn't find anything in the translations I have. So I've been praying and asking God how He created the world. As He told me on the bus, I was on the bus when I heard His voice telling me the alphabet. And He said that's how I created the world. So I was wondering, how did you create the world? How did He create the world? Through the alphabet. And then it dawned on me that according to even John chapter 1 verse 1 says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So John is saying there was a Word, and that Word was with God, and then that Word was God. So now I went back to think, how then did the Word, or where is this word coming from, or what was the meaning of this word? Then I realized that is what He was trying to tell me, the alphabet, because the alphabet forms the words, and the words is what we speak. And when we go back to Genesis also, it says, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. Looking at this, we can see that God said, let there be light, and there was light. In our minds and understanding, you think and you wonder, how can somebody say, let there be light, and there was light? Where is this light coming from, and where was He Himself? How was He calling light, and light is appearing? So these are all questions that I've been asking God from infancy, from a very long time. And when I was getting the answers, I was still asking questions, and then He was giving more explanations. So I was asking Him, Lord, if you are telling me this now, you need to give me scriptures. You have to back it with scriptures for me, because it might be something I'm asking, but it will be something that will be useful for somebody as well, because I might not be the only person asking these questions. There might be that same question in someone's mind, and they might not get the answer. So if I have the opportunity or the chance to get these revelations, back it up with scripture for me, so I can link it to or speak to people about it, because people will ask, what do you mean the alphabet? It was never mentioned in the Bible that the alphabet was what God used to create. the closest we can get to is the word that God used to create. So I was constantly asking God, please show me something. And then the first one he showed me was the First John 1. Then I went to research and I started researching to see where I could find the Bible or the Word of God pointing to the alphabet, but I could not see anything in the Hebrew translation, in the English translation. So I went further on to look at the Hebrew Bible, or to go deeper and deeper into it, into the Hebrew Bible. But I could not read Hebrew. So I said, okay, Lord, I think I need to enroll on a Hebrew course. So I've tried last year, even 2 years ago, I tried to enroll on a Hebrew course, but I still did not go through because of the busy schedule that we are entangled with. So lo and behold, after a year or two, I put the book aside because I wasn't getting any motivation from anyone or anywhere, and it was as though it was just in my mind. So I said, okay, let me just put this down. So I put it down, and it was last 2 years. Last 2 years, I hurt myself, my back, and then I had to go and stay with a family, my prayer family. So it was there that they invited me to join them to go to a church to pray. So when we got there, the woman of God held my hand and he said, "Man of God, God has called you. He's given you an assignment, but you haven't done it. So you should say the sinner's prayer." We said the sinner's prayer, and then she gave me the verse, which I've pasted in my Bible here. So that's the husband's handwriting on the day. Yeah. So even before that, when we got to the church, I took the Bible on the chair because every chair had a Bible. So when I opened it, the first page I opened was Psalm 119, but then I didn't know that was Psalm 119. What I saw was Aleph, Beth, Gimel, Dalek. So I was like, this is the alphabet. So now God is telling me this is where it is in the Bible, but I didn't even know. So I asked the family I went with if we could exchange the Bible for me to cross-check if that's in their Bible as well. It might be just the one that I was having. And when we exchanged the Bible, I saw the same thing was in her Bible, and then it had the symbols around it. So I was overwhelmed. I was like, wow, there's so much I need to look into here. So I did not even have the time to. I was thinking after the church, I would see if I could get a copy or ask them where I could get the copy of that Bible. Yeah. So I was called forward, and she prayed for me and she gave me Psalm 119. And then I came back to my chair. When I sat down, I heard a voice tell me, you need to read it now. If not, you will forget when you go home. So I quickly opened to Psalm 119 to see what was there. And to my amazement, that is where the alphabet is. That's why I got this Bible a year or so after, or 2 years after, when I highlighted the alphabet because I was researching into it. And also, when I came and I read the alphabet, though it's broken down here, alphabet on each verse or each, I don't know if it's a song stanza, I could not understand how the verse underneath is linked. It did not make sense to me. So I kept studying, researching, and praying to God to show me more and more and more. And that was how I started writing my book, which is still in progress. Even though I have tried to concise it, to make it smaller, shorter, but I think I need to leave it as is. So I should have finished publishing, but I still have to go back in and then expand it how I wrote it from the beginning. So that's short history. Let me just take us back now to First John verse 1. It says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." So when you think about this, you realize God was speaking, and whatever God spoke was him, or whatever God speaks will be reference to him. So let's say, like what some of my viewers on here, I see Jaden. Hi, Jaden. Hi, sis Gifty. If Jaden or Mohini say something, I would then reference it to Mohini or Jaden or Sister Gifty that, oh, Mohini said or Jaden said, and then I would say what Jaden had said. So everything Jaden will say will be reference to Jaden. So that word represents Jaden. If I had to write that down, I would write it and entitle it Jaden said, and so it's linked to Jaden. That was what John was saying, that the word was God and the word was with God. He said he was, so now he's referring to the word, that the word was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him. So everything that God spoke was his word. And without his word, I'm trying to break it down as I understand it. Without his word, nothing was made. And in his word was life. Everything God spoke was life. So whatever God spoke became life, became a reality. It can be seen, it can be quantified, it can be measured. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. Here is saying the light of men, meaning men, even we in the natural or the physical form, can now see that substance of the light and say, oh, this is light. So that light is now life. It has life now. We can actually quantify it. And the light shineth in the darkness, and the darkness could not comprehend it. So the darkness here, it's a lot more we'll go into later, but I can bring it here just to prepare us. Darkness is all our imagination. You know, when you imagine something, unless you speak it, nobody knows what's going through your mind. Even sometimes your own self, you do not know what is going on through your own mind. You're wondering what you just deep in thought. So then that takes us back to the book of Genesis, where it says, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, and the earth was without form and void. So the question I asked again was, how could the earth be? In the beginning was in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. So he's created them. And now the earth is without form. So how do you create something but now it's without form? It should be formed. That is why you created it. So be without form and void. Void means nothing. And darkness was upon the face of the deep. So I kept wondering what all these things meant. And then I got these revelations that when God was thinking about creation, he did not speak a word. So everything that was in his mind was just in his thought. So that is why it was formed in his mind but still void. And nothing was made that was made, because it was still void, or it was still in his mind, until the first word appeared, light. But before light, he had to know what light is, what to call it by. Everything has to be called by a name. He could have called darkness, so darkness would have appeared because he is God. But the thing that he called light that appeared is what is now known as light. So the light that appeared made everything visible. And it's amazing how scientists, our great scholars, scientists have tried really, really hard to find God, to explain these things, how everything came into existence just by appearing. So they drew the line that it came out of a big bang, which just blew out of a singularity. And without them reading the Bible or backing it with the Bible, they don't even know they are affirming the statement in the Bible that God said, and it was so. Because God was already existing in himself, full of his glory, everything, all his essence was there, all his power was there until he spoke the very first word. So anything that is created or seeing it will now see it just appear. Let's say, for instance, we all have our full sight. But you walking in darkness, you realize even though in your own room, You know where every furniture in the room is. But immediately the light goes off, you're wondering how are you going to navigate, because now you're having a thought of your room, but then you cannot picture it, you cannot see it clearly because it is now void in your mind, even in your sight, that you can actually know or remember where things are, but you cannot know how close they are to you unless there is light. Yeah. So that's saying the Spirit of God moved on the surface of the deep. And the question I asked here is, where is this deep, and what was God's Spirit doing hovering over the surface of the deep? And this is also another study I'll have to bring up, because it is deep and deep and deep. And God is amazing. In His own wisdom, He has done things that if you search it, you actually find it. He said it is His duty. It is the beauty of God to hide a thing, and the duty of kings to search it. So it's written in His word, by written in a way that you have to actually search and seek for Him to open it to you, to your understanding. So when you think and imagine things, they are not yet formed, they just remain in your imagination. So we do not know how your thoughts or how our thoughts will pan out. So that is why the formlessness of the earth was. And even evidently in when you look at Ephesians 6 verse 12, it says, we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness, which is imagination, of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. There are few things I can link to these things right now, but they still have deeper meanings, like against rulers, against principalities, against powers in the heavenly places. Rulers, we scientists now believe there's so much connectivity in our brain, electricity. Those are rulers, those are principalities. So if somebody is not, they say wiring. If somebody is not wired correctly, they say that person is not a saint. If the person is what is, his IQ is higher. So those are principalities and powers we struggle with every time. Everybody has imagination. Even the, sorry to say, the madman still have their imagination. They see things that you or we cannot see. They still see things that God has made their brain to see, their principalities. Those are the imaginations of this age. Spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. So we can also see, according to Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23, it also says we should carefully guard our thoughts, because they are the source of true life. Because your imagination, once you're imagining things for long, if care is not taken, you speak it out, and things spoken out became life, or the words spoken out became visible. So it says we should guard our thoughts so that we will not be thinking negativity, or we are not thinking things that are not of God. So we are constantly careful that the things we speak will be of God. So even when they get created, they don't harm us. They are actually good things. We should be speaking good things, good energy, good speech, kindness, love, culmination. Everything that comes off our mouth should be actually good. That is how you have to guard your thoughts, so that the negative thoughts that come, you suppress it. That's why when you go deep into thought, people get worried around you. They're like, why are you so deep in thought about? But all these things happen by faith. So according to Hebrew, it says faith is what? Is the substance of things hoped for, of things you're hoping for, you're imagining it. But now it is the evidence of things not seen. So your faith is evidence of things not yet seen. You haven't seen it, but it's already in your mind, and you know very well this is what you're thinking or imagining. Let's say you're imagining you're going to go to the cinema to watch a movie. Already you're imagining yourself walking to the cinema to watch a movie. So by faith, you're going to take an action which will get you to the cinema. But all this has become natural. They have become so used. We have become so used to, so we don't even realize our everyday is full of faith. We are taking Another word is we are taking risk every day. Because if you do not say, oh, let me get out of bed, you cannot get out of bed. You have to say, oh, I need to get out of bed now. Then you come out of bed. According to Genesis, the Spirit of God hovered on the surface of the deep. The deep refers to the spiritual realm. In this, there are no physical substance. So God moved to create, and every step of God established a letter of the alphabet. So these are the pillars of creation, or the pillars of the world. A lot of times we know the words we speak, but we actually don't know who formed these words. I can come up with a new word now, and I have to give that word meaning and then pass it on to everybody, and then it becomes a known word. But before that, we have to have an alphabet. So God had to establish first the alphabet, so that the alphabet will now be the pillars that form the words. So if you say light, the pillars of light are L-I-G-H-T. Without those words, if you don't put those pillars together, you can't form the word light. So God moved to establish the pillars of creation. What I mean by this is, according to the Bible, Jesus Christ came to die. Or according to 1 John, it says the word came to his own, and his own did not receive it. The word came to perish so that we will have everlasting life. He came. He sent us a lamb to die on the cross so that we will have everlasting life. So when you look at that, the word is now flesh, and the word is what has given life to everything that is living, even the non-living things like the rocks. So for the word to now be able to stand, it has to be formed on something. So the lamb that was God, or the lamb that's Jesus Christ, that came to die on the cross, it was in his blood that the word or the letters were established. So his blood gave the words or the letters power. So the letters now have power. So these letters called together creates a bonding, an energy that even if I say a word right now, even without me bringing that substance to you, you already can know or can imagine what that is. So the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the deep, because when he sacrificed the lamb, who is Jesus Christ in the spiritual, that was to show that he sacrificed the lamb to create everything. So the lamb in his blood was the creative power. So now when you call a thing, you call light. If you miss something in that word, it might not come as it's supposed to. For instance, let's look at color. If I say color blue, it's a part of light. But that part that I'm calling to appear is what is the blue. That's going to show you blue. But when you say color, you have to say which color. Because if you say black, people who have done printing, multimedia, or graphics, or color, something about color, they will tell you light is not color, or white is not color, and black is not color, but they are color. Because that part of the color you call is lacking the rest. If you call light, you're calling all colors. But if you call black, you are not able to call any color. Let me break it down again. Black absorbs all light. It does not reflect any light. That is why you don't see any color coming to your eyes. You only see blackness. But white reflects all light. So you see all the colors coming into your eye, and you cannot point any out. So that's why you see light. So now if you call blue, the color that is coming out from that light is the blue part of that color you're seeing. So the light shines into the fabric or into the surface and reflects the color blue. So the words that are formed are given the power by the blood of the lamb that was sacrificed from the beginning. I'm trying to build slowly and take it, though I think I'm rushing it because I didn't get it in one video, one day, or 1 year. I got it over the years, but I'm trying to just make sense. So we all know is it the Greek alphabet? It says the Alpha and the Omega. Jesus said, I'm the Alpha and the Omega. And if you put these two letters together, it draws something that is mind blowing. I'm trying to draw it. The Hebrew Alpha, we know, is this, and then the Omega, we know, is something like this. Yeah. So now let's take it a step further. If you look at the Omega, it looks like it's having legs here and leg there. So now let me also look at the Alpha. He said he is also the head of the church. So when you look at the Alpha, who is the head of the church, the Alpha could also be seen as this. So this could be an eye and an eye. So that is already looking like the head of an animal, either a cattle or something. So now let us now put this close to it. Or let me just draw it again. If you put this together, the Alpha and the Omega, if you're able to join it nicely, and then maybe give it a body here, you must start seeing an animal. Like this is the head of the animal, and this is the body of the animal. So now when God sacrificed the animal, the head that he cut off, that is the head of the church. He is the Alpha, but he's still the Omega. So now, looking at this, we now have what we call the Alpha and the Omega. That is the Hebrew, the Greek alphabet, the complete Greek alphabet. But when you look at the Hebrew one, it is drawn like this. And then the Tav is Aleph Tav. The Tav is like this. So now if you look, you can see two horns here. And now if you turn here, this side to meet here, it will show like something like this. So now that is the Aleph Tav. If you manage to join that, you still see an animal with the head and the legs, the body. So that is what God was saying, that he's the Aleph and the Tav. He's the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. This is the beginning and this is the end. Again, somebody might be asking, why are you saying this? Let me look at this one again. When you look at the Alpha, which shows the head of the cattle, the end bit of the animal could also be referred to as the foot of the animal. When you look at horses, they wear a shoe and it's called horseshoe, and that symbol looks like the horseshoe. So this is the beginning and this is the end. I am the beginning and the end. So God is trying to tell us that He made the words we use by the letters. That is why He said the word became flesh, and then He came and dwelt among men, and men did not understand it. So now, at this point, I started getting confused myself. So I asked God for more meaning and more clarification. So I went further to the Hebrew, the Hebrew, the Hebrew text to find where that is. So I looked at the Hebrew alphabet, Hebrew Genesis. It says Bereshit bara Elohim, and then I saw there's a word here that was not translated. Even all of this, though it's been translated as Bereshit bara, as in the beginning was the word, or in the beginning God created. Sorry, in the beginning God created. This was not translated. And then I look at what was not translated, and it is what? The Aleph and the Tav. It is the Alpha and the Omega. But in English, what do we say? We say the alphabet. That is how come why I named, or why I had the alphabet. Because when he was trying to tell me, he told me the alphabet. That is how he created the world. And then that was when I started asking the questions. So that is the introduction for my book. There are things that I would like to go into. Today I came on, I planned to come on 3 hours ago, but I had to pray, ask God for permission, ask God for guidance, because I never want to come on Facebook and actually do these things. So it's I hope people will understand it's so much for me to come and show your face and try to explain something to the world. I will say the world because I know this is going far, and I know somebody's being blessed by this. But there are more things that I don't know if I had to take it now, or it might be too much for somebody to take. So I had to do it stage by stage for somebody to get into it. So I would appreciate any questions, anything you want to know. I would appreciate you just send it to my inbox. I would be able to find the time to answer them by God's grace. And I will ask for His wisdom as well to touch on so many things, so everybody can come into that light, the light that He shined into the world, but men did not comprehend. He wants us to comprehend now. That is why He is revealing more and more detailed things to us. Because there are many questions I would like us to go to. Thank you, Mary. Like God said, the Bible said the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the deep. There are questions that I ask, what was this deep that His Spirit was hovering over? And He explained it to me. He said, when He sacrificed the lamb that came actually to die on the cross, He sacrificed it before everything. He did it spiritually before it happened physically. Because our worlds are also parallel. Whatever is happening spiritually is reflecting the physical. So when He sacrificed a lamb, He removed the head, which became the Aleph, and the Beth, which is the body or the house. Yeah, it's like I'm now jumping again. The Beth is the house. Because when you look at the word, even Bethlehem, Lehem in Hebrew is bread. So when you say Bethlehem, Beth is the house. So Bethlehem is the house of bread. That's why Jesus said, "I am the bread of life. Whoever eats shall not go hungry again." So these are meanings that is hidden in the Bible, and we as kings and queens, or princes of the Most High, we have to find, to research, to seek and find. Because He says, we shall seek and we shall find. We should knock and it shall be opened to us. We should ask and it shall be given to us. So you have to seek every day. every day, every time, every moment you have. You have to ask him, be in his presence. So we are in this world, but we are not of this world. We have to be in it, do things with people, but constantly you should know you're not of this world. You're just in it. So um, I will try and skip some of the pages and then touch on things that my eye catches quickly so we can go into. When we look at Psalm 33, verse 6, it says, by the word of the Lord, the heavens were made, and by the breath of his mouth, all their host. There are two things here that I questioned. I was like, I thought God lives in heaven. So, by the word of his mouth, the heavens were made. So, this statement is telling me God is even greater than heaven. Heaven it cannot limit God. And by the breath of his mouth, all the host. If something is coming from your mouth and is making the host of where we think that he is or he lives, then the God that we serve is greater. He's greater than what we can even imagine. He's great. He's a mighty God. So the next question I also ask is, what was the host that God was referring to? I hope somebody would like to do some contribution. I'll say here if I see any contribution. What are the hosts God referred to? Jaden? Sister Natalie? Or Mary? Thank you, Jaden. God bless you too. Yeah. So the hosts that the Bible was referring to are the alphabets, because those are the words, the pillars of creation, and that is what he brought together, and that created the word. And when he spoke the first word and the light appeared, scientists saw it as the Big Bang, because to them they could measure what happened in that instant, but what caused that to happen, they couldn't measure it. So they placed the creation of the world in Big Bang, because that is where everything became visible. And it's not just funny how they didn't use any other word, they used the word starting with the letter B. Alphabet. So the alpha existed before the bet, or the bet. So they could not see beyond the bet. All they could see is the bet, the creation itself. The creator who is outside or before creation is what is hidden from them. But it's only a spiritual being or being spiritual that will only point to you that there's a super being that has created everything. They said the earth is placed in the right distance from the sun. If not, we'll get burned. If it's too far away, we'll get cold, we'll get frozen. So that tells me everything is designed by God. Even the DNA, they studied the DNA, they said they have found some letters in the DNA or numbers in the DNA, and the numbers are 10, 10, 5, I can't remember, 10, 5, 8, 5, which is saying Yod, He, Vav, He, which is Yahweh. So even in our DNA, his name is already there. So you see, he's already established the pillars. He's already put the foundation. He is the foundation. He has already established himself in us before he formed us. So he said, from before you were formed in your mother's womb, I knew you, because he is written in you. He's written his DNA, and on he's written his name, and on his name you can become. On the alpha, the head, on his blood, you could be established. So the blood that was poured, and I think I'm moving too fast. The blood that was poured out from the sacrifice he made, that was the lamb. The blood was what was the deep, the waters that was covering the earth or was covering everything. That was the blood. It was his blood. So in his blood was where there's the power, and then he established the letters in the blood. That's why the letters now could now be called, even though we don't see the letters, they still make things appear. So it says what? Faith is what? Faith is the hope of things not seen and evidence of things not yet seen. So the letters were established in his blood. So they are not seen. We cannot see the letter. We can say A, B, C, D, but there's nowhere you can go anywhere to touch anything to say this is A, unless it's just written, the representation on paper. So even when you look at the word Aleph Beth meaning the house, and Aleph meaning Alpha or God, it says what? God's house. So creation is now God's house. The whole of creation, that is including the heavens, including the earth, the air we breathe, the body, the mass, the time, everything included is now the creation. So now that is God's house. That means God lives in everything. He lives in you. He lives in everything. The trees, the buildings, the rocks, the land, air, the birds, things flying around, even the unseen. It's all God. It's all creation. He is closer to us than we know. He is closer than we think. He is in everything. That's why it says, believe it. Believe everything you think. Believe everything you say. Ask, and it shall be given to you. As a child of God, we should not think and imagine God is far away from us. He is very close to us. He is there listening. That is why we don't have to shout on the mountaintops for him to hear us. He said, when you want to pray to him, go into your closet, close your door, say your prayer in there, and whatever you do in secret, he will reward it openly. Why is he saying that? He wants us to now know in our mind that he's not very far away, that we should be thinking we have to pray loud or travel from place to see somebody to pray with before we can see him. He's there with you. In your oneness, he's there with you. In the congregation where you meet brothers and sisters in the faith, you pray together, he's there as well. So I just want to encourage everyone this evening that this is a beginning of a big thing. So I thank you for listening to me. I'll make it very short today, but maybe the next video it might be longer and more engaging, more relaxed. That will take my time because today is the first time I'm rushing through everything. So yeah, I thank you and I pray may the Lord's face shine on you. May He guide you, protect us all as we are going into the night to sleep. That His countenance be around us, His mighty hand be around us. He shall keep us and give us good dreams and visions. When we wake up, we shall remember to give praise and honor unto His holy name. In Jesus' mighty name I pray. Shalom. Amen. Bye-bye.